Hello everyone, I'm Dandan Xu. Today I'm excited to share our work that can successfully pinpoint the root cause of a crash in just 1/10 of time typically required by current methods. This is a joint effort between Institute of Information Engineering, Chinese Academy of Sciences, and Indiana University Bloomington. Before diving into how we achieve this, let's quickly revisit what the root cause is. When a program crashes, it's easy to spot where the crash happened. However, the true cause is often hidden under many clues, making it difficult to pinpoint. Think of it like a tree. The dead leaf denotes where the crash occurs, but the actual issue lies deep in the root. Our goal is to identify this hidden root cause quickly and accurately. Let's look at an example. The program crashes at this line. However, the root cause of this crash is located far from this line, which is highlighted in gray. Specifically, the crash occurs because the size variable was assigned a very small value, leading the semi-log function to allocate a small buffer. When the program tries to write a large amount of data into this buffer, it results in the crash. To identify this root cause, a common method is to use the statistical approach. The behind intuition is that the root cause should be highly correlated with the crash. In our example, running inputs assigned several values to the size variable as shown in the figure. Upon examining this value, a clear correlation shows up. When the value is less than 8, the program crashes. Otherwise, it runs normally. This observation leads us to consider the predicate size than 8 as a potential root cause. Generally speaking, the statistical approach begins by generating a large number of inputs, referred to as test cases, which include both crashed inputs, making program crash, and non-crash inputs, leading the program go to a normal end. The statistical approach then enumerates all possible predicates based on the test cases and calculates the correlation between each predicate and the crash. These predicates are subsequently ranked by the correlation. The higher the correlation, the more likely the predicate is to be the root cause. In this process, having a sufficient number of test cases is critical for accurately identifying the root cause. However, current statistical approaches use an insufficient method for generating test cases. They rely on AFL, a code coverage-based fuzzing tool, which typically takes several hours or even days to produce a sufficient number of test cases. During these timely runs, we observe that a significant amount of time is wasted on cases that do not help in locating the root cause. In fact, the root cause can often be identified only in a small subset of useful test cases, which could and is supposed to be generated much more quickly. So what are the useful test cases? Let's look back to our example and focus on offset variable. Assume we have generated a set of test cases and a collection of values that have been assigned to the offset variable. Clearly, values associated with the crash was concentrated in the region of less than 1, while those values related to the normal end are placed on the other side. This suggests that the predicate offset smaller than 1 is likely a root cause. However, it is not true. To correct this false positive, additional test cases are required. However, additional cases may not always correct it. When a non-crash case assigns a value of 27 to the offset value, the false positive will remain unchanged. So there is no need to waste time to generate this case. When another non-crash case assigns a value of 0 to the offset variable, it would correct this false positive. The value of 0 reduces the correlation between the predicate less than 1 and the crash. We call this type of cases as counterexample. They contradict the currently guessed results. So counterexamples are the useful test cases, what we are looking for, as they reduce the false positive and pop up the real root cause. The next question is how to generate counterexample. In our research, we also use fuzzing similar to most RCA approaches by selecting seeds and mutating them to create new test cases. But in a smart way, we employ reinforcement learning algorithm to get the fuzzing in the purpose of maximize the chance to generate the counterexample. Specifically, we identify two levels of counterexample that are useful for improving root cause identification. The first one is counterexample of predicate, or COP in short, which is correct false positive, which is to correct false positive predicates. The second level is the counterexample of ranking, or COR in short, which help us adjust incorrect rankings. First, let's dive into how to get further to generate COPs. Our approach is based on two interesting observations. The first observation is about value similarity. For two inputs, one is the original seed, and another one is its mutated version. They would likely result in a very similar value being assigned to the same variable. The second observation is the outcome tendency. Input mutated from non-crash inputs are still likely to result in non-crash, while input mutated from crash inputs are roughly a 50-50 chance cause a crash. Based on these two observations, we developed a strategy to generate COPs. Here is an example. Assuming we have a predicate here, we need to generate a counterexample against it. Based on our value similarity observation, input that generate value within this specific range should be ideal seed candidates for future mutations. And based on our outcome tendency observation, the input result in a non-crash should be an ideal choice of seed. It will likely to generate non-crash input contradicting the current predicates. You may be wondering, what if there is no non-crash input in that range? In these cases, we can select a seed like this one here, which has a higher probability generating counterexample compared to other opinions, even if it's not as high as those from non-crash inputs. Now we zoom out from a single predicate. We would encounter millions of predicates in practice for a program. The seed we select based on one predicate often affects other predicates as well. Logically, we desired to find a seed that can generate counterexamples affecting as many predicates as possible. To achieve this, we employ reinforcement learning technique equipped with a reward function that reflects the potential number of predicates affected by a seed. To more increase the generation efficiency, we also introduce RL into the mutation stage of fuzzing. We use it to determine which position to target and which mutation operation to apply, ensuring that each mutation has the best chance of generating the desired COP. I'd like to stop here due to the time limit and leave details of generating COP in our paper for reference. Next, I'd like to introduce COR, the counterexample of ranking. The seed we selected to generate COP would affect the ranking of many predicates. Some changes ranking a lot, while some not. Here is an example. COP1 and COP2 impact the same number of predicates. However, COP2 doesn't change the ranking of these predicates, while COP1 doesn't change the ranking of these predicates, while COP2 does. We prefer to choose COP2 because it has a great ability to correct the incorrect rankings, allowing the true cause to pop up more quickly. We call this kind of input as COR, representing a higher level of counterexample that more directly helps the root cause identification. So in our reward function of RL, we consider both the number of predicates affected and the extent to which the ranking has been changed for seed. By incorporating both COP and CORs, we developed our RCA tool, racing, which significantly accelerates the speed of root cause identification while maintaining high effectiveness. We evaluated racing on a diverse and representative data set that includes 30 vulnerabilities from 21 widely used programs like Python and mRuby. These vulnerabilities span across 9 different types, including buffer overflow, user free, and other serious ones. First, let's look at the effectiveness of racing. Racing successfully boosted the real root cause of our 13 vulnerabilities into top 50, with more than 17% in top 10 and 1/3 in top 3. When compared to the current Soul-Control Aurora, racing delivered comparable ranking results, with 2/3 of the root cause achieving non-worse ranking and 47% achieve even higher ranking. As an example, a vulnerability in NASM was ranked 20th by racing, while Aurora only ranked it at 58th. On average, racing ranked root cause 4 places higher than Aurora, suggesting that racing can save more time for human experts in RCA than what Aurora did. Next, let's look at the time needed by racing to identify root cause. Specifically, racing identified 87% of root cause within 1 hour, with more than half being identified in just 10 minutes. Notably, racing took only 1 minute to identify 30% of the root cause. Compared to Aurora, racing has much higher speed in identifying root cause, with speed improvements ranging from a minimum of 1.2 times to an impressive more than 600 times. On average, racing takes about 27 minutes to identify root cause, while Aurora requires around 6 hours, resulting in a 30-fold reduction in time. This substantial improvement should be owed to our RL strategy to identify COR and COPs. To evaluate the impact of them respectively, we conducted an ablation study. Our results show that both COR and COP made significant contributions to the time saving. For example, in the case of vulnerability in LibTIF, using COR alone can reduce the analysis time from over 2 hours to 40 minutes, while improving ranking from 10th to 3rd. When combined with COPs, the analysis time was more reduced to just 2 minutes, only 1/16 of the time required by Aurora. Let's conclude this talk. We uncovered the value of counterexamples in root cause analysis. We developed an RL-based approach to generate counterexamples, including both COR and COPs. Our method, RACING, delivered impressive results, achieving a 13 times speed up compared to current SOTA method, while maintaining comparable ranking results for root cause. Thank you all for your attention. Many details are included in our paper. Our code is available on GitHub and has been verified by USENIX. Please feel free to try it. Now I'm happy to take your question.